said you wanted to be free.
Beast at my mind.
Thought you said you wanted to be free.
No, it died from last.
People lie. Numbers don't.
High power.
Is it freedom what you want? We far from finished.
High power.
Ain't freedom what you've been asking for? Ain't freedom what you've been praying for?
All my life I want.
I thought you said you wanted to be free, son. Alright, if you like me, can you afford me?
Powers. Austin.
Have the head, not the tail. The lender.
Martin had a dream.
I ain't free.
Kendrick have a dream.
I ain't free from this,
High
baby.
power.
My name ain't
Martin
free.
Kendrick
My
have a
name ain't
power.
free. I ain't free. You only become a slave when you are mastered by those whips and chains. I am who you need.
Money grow. Who really real? Tell me how you really feel. Keep it Uncle Phil. Do you kill like a Navy SEAL? Rolling off a pill, very trill. You ain't got a deal. Do you really steal? Rob the stove.
What up? What up? What up, good people? What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy J. Lou, 3 to the 1 to the 4, back again with another episode. It's the player development guru himself, advocate for all student athlete success, talking about another video about the concept of the death of the student athlete. And we're back again, and I'm nothing less than excited. What's going on, family? If it's your first time here, what up, stranger? You ain't a stranger no more. After I called you stranger, now you family. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Welcome to the community, all right, of player development and student athlete success. Now, I'm sorry for my goofiness, okay? I forgot, okay, I should be a little bit more sensible. But, hey, man, I'm talking to a camera in my room, all right? Ain't nobody else around, okay? I'm talking to you virtually. We might not even know each other that well unless you be DMing me, asking me questions. No, aside from that, let me have my fun a little bit, all right? You got to have fun with stuff like this, man. But nonetheless, I hope your day's been great. Hope all of that has been well. I got to go ahead and I want to get straight into the material and the time. Y'all already understand. I'm going to just tell y'all my core objective of today. Now, y'all know the overall objective of the channel is to arm and equip student athletes with all the information that they need to transition out of athletics and into adulthood well and build the foundational future that they desire to have. Okay, now we already understand that, but my core objective for today is something that's going to be a little less insightful, a little bit more, loose. Okay, I'm going to be talking specifically about, once again, the death of the student athlete. And the only reason I'm talking about this is simply because I believe that because we are seeing more NIL and more transfer portal activity, that it's altering the collegiate landscape. Okay, it is turning what used to be amateur athletes into really hybrid professional athletes, where we really can't tell the difference between them just being paid like they in the league. It's almost if they're just in a lower league, but it's really like they pro at this point in time. I mean, we starting to see athletes holding out, athletes going to one school to the next school for the sake of more compensation, and I ain't even gonna fake it. First and foremost, let me go ahead and preface this because I don't want to deliver just a one-sided argument, even though I'm only gonna be talking about my concerns in this video. I'll talk about my pros likely in another video. I just, for the sake of time, only want to really just touch on my concerns. I want you to understand really the function of NIL, the function of the transfer portal, so that you don't mismanage it, because I really don't think that these things are inherently bad. I don't think NIL is inherently bad. I don't think the transfer portal is inherently bad. I just believe that if they're mismanaged, it can cause an athlete that does not have their priorities correct or priorities in order to mismanage the opportunity that NIL can present. And it can cause athletes to mismanage the opportunity that the transfer portal can present. And so I really just believe that one of the greatest disservices that we can do to ourselves is to mismanage things that's supposed to be a resource. We don't want to turn resources into curses simply because we mismanage them. All right? So sometimes we need more information to save us from ourselves. I'm all for players getting paid. All right? Get paid, young woman of God, young man of God, get paid. Get paid, young woman of God, young man of God, get paid. But I want to just make sure that we're doing it correctly because we understand the core function of these things. I'm going to talk about this transfer portal first. All right? I'm going to just talk about it. We're going to talk about it, okay? There's something I noticed through observation. I saw this trend. All right? I seen this trend, and it was transfer portal utilization, right? In 2021, we actually would witness something, right? We witnessed the transfer portal have about 17,000 athletes in there, right? By 2020, that was in 2021. By 2022, we had about 20,000 athletes up in there. And see, so we have an increase of 3,000, but it's like, hey man, some people ain't happy where they at, right? There's other influential factors outside of finances that can cause an athlete to want to transition to a new school, right? Sometimes they're not happy where they're at. Sometimes they feel like they're not developing. Sometimes the coach leaves and so they want to go with their coach. There's other things that can happen, right? So we see an increase of 3,000 people, 17,000 to 20,000. But by the time we get to 2023, we go from 20,000 to 31,000 plus. See, that's a significant amount of growth while NIL is becoming more prominent and more prevalent. Now, scientifically speaking, I'm not going to sit over here and say that correlation equals causation. In other words, just because these two things is happening at the same time does not mean that they are having a profound impact on one another. But what I am saying is, for the sake of this discussion right here, is that might not be coincidental that you're seeing NIL have a heavier precedent in NCAA athletics, and you're also seeing a transfer portal that's starting to get used more and more and more. As a matter of fact, like if we take Carson Beck, that transferred from the University of Georgia to the University of Miami, and one of the influential factors behind that decision was NIL opportunity. I believe that anytime you see something publicized, there's still a large majority of athletes that are doing the same thing in the dark. We just can't see it, right? So the second something becomes public, that tells me it's been going on for a while. The second something becomes public, that tells me that that's not the only person doing that. See, as a matter of fact, I would see a clip with Deion Sanders that would actually, I'm not going to name the school, but he would actually call out a school saying, stop tampering with our athletes, right? Stop offering them certain compensation packages for their attendance. Because in all honesty, if we going to talk transfer portal and NIL, I'm going to touch on NIL real quick. There's a difference between NIL, name, image, and likeness, and pay for play, right? See, NIL, name, image, and likeness suggests that you are going to receive compensation because your name, your image, and your likeness. There are businesses that want to utilize your name, image, and likeness to attract eyes, right? And eyes leads to foot traffic, whether it is virtual or physical, and foot traffic leads to revenue. And so now, based upon the foot traffic, based on the eyes, foot traffic, and revenue an athlete can potentially generate based upon their name, image, and likeness, based on their brand, now there are companies that say, we're going to compensate you with a piece of the revenue that we can use you to generate. I think that that is a very fair exchange, right? The issue is when you go to certain schools and institutions, first and foremost, there's likely going to be more opportunities to do that with certain businesses at different schools, right? Now here's pay for play. Pay for play is we're going to compensate you for participation at our institution. So when a school walks around to a student athlete and says, we got more NIL opportunity for you over here, it sounds way too close to, we're going to pay you for participation at our institution. The difference is you got to frame it a different way, because NIL is legal, though it's less regulated. Pay for play is illegal. And I'm not just talking about the paper. I want y'all to get paid, young man of God, young woman of God, get paid. I want you to get your paper. I want you to leave that field that's green and get to the green. I want you to be able to leave that court and find yourself to the cash. I want you to be able to do these things. But my common concern is when we're seeing athletes that are in pursuit of profit. Why do I keep activating my preacher voice? I'm sorry. But when we're seeing athletes that are in pursuit of profit so much so that they are willing to change institutions, my question becomes, what are we really teaching our student athletes? Or at this point, our semi-professional athletes? Y'all remember I told y'all, conceptually, I believe the concept of student athlete is dying. I believe that at this point, you're not a student, you a semi-pro. You a semi-pro that just is in school. And the only reason you in school at this point, I ain't even gonna fake it, sidebar, only reason some people are in school at this point, bro, I'm just keeping my grades up so I can participate in my sport. And me participating in my sport is getting me paid. Right? So me maintaining a certain GPA is just a formality, not a priority. I ain't gonna lie, even when I was in college, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro, I went to college so I could run track. I was not running track so I could go to college. Now I'm a technology, leadership, innovation, management major. That's what I graduated with. That's what my bachelor's degree was in. And that degree has served some significant value in my life, especially in today's time. But as a track athlete, that was not my priority. That was a formality. I'm like, fam, I'm keeping a good GPA so I can keep traveling these track meets. All right? Because there's some things at these track meets, okay? It's a nice red oval and it's some not. Never mind. It's some things that came with being a track athlete. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But all wholesome though, all right? We just loved being able to run and we loved the individuals that was running, okay? That's all I'm saying. Oh, the Lord is my shepherd. He knows what I wanted in that moment. Thank you, Jesus. I'm playing. I'm just unserious. I promise you I'm playing. I was not even doing no dumb stuff in college. I was a nerd. Matter of fact, I'm going to give another sidebar, okay? In college, I'm going to tell you how much of a nerd I was, okay? Because I got to clear my name. My father sent me 2 boxes of books and said all them books need to be finished by the time you graduate, and all of them was finished. I ain't had time to be playing with nobody because I was in my room reading books and writing notes and writing sermons because I'm a speaker now, and a lot of that was formed when I was 20 in the dark doing what I needed to do. So I was handling mine. Y'all leave me alone. Back to what I was saying. My question becomes, what are we teaching our student athletes when they're in pursuit of profitability? I think we're teaching them with the transfer portal that if you're not happy somewhere, it's okay for you to leave. That if you don't like it somewhere, even if it's developing you. See, because there is a great relationship between discomfort and development. And so a lot of people might be stunting their development simply because they are avoiding discomfort that development comes with. And so they are literally going from college to college in search of comfort, and they keep running into the same discomfort because God has a higher priority other than comfort, and it's development. And so when we are literally allowing our athletes to be like, yeah, you can just go if you're not happy, if you don't like it here. I'm not going to lie, that's a concern for me because that's a mindset and a mentality that if it's adopted too closely, that's not just going to be something we see in college. It's something that could begin to transcend into daily life. It's something that we can watch athletes take into adulthood, and that's going to be a lot more harmful. Because imagine if you adopt the mentality, if you don't like us somewhere, if you're not happy here, then leave, but you marry. What happens when we're teaching our athletes that your biggest priority is to be happy? Is to be good with where you at, where that is not the reality of life. So it's almost as if we are giving athletes a false and distorted view of what reality really look like. Because in all honesty, whether it's in a job, whether it's in a relationship, whether it is in something that you've committed to, I'm telling you that sometimes the greatest gift that a place can give you is discomfort. But your priority has to be your character in order for you to see the value of developing in discomfort. See, I ain't even gonna lie. In order to really understand the value of dirt, you gotta believe in the potential of a seed. But if you don't see the potential of seeds, you will never be able to understand the value of dirt. You won't be able to understand the value of rain. You will never be able to see the value of storms. And so the same thing for us, if athletes are not adopting a mentality where they see themselves as a seed that needs development, they're going to have the wrong perspective on discomfort, on agitation, irritation, when the coach get on your nerves, when the coach talks to you a certain way. You're not going to see it the right way when you have to adapt to a training system that if you would give it a year or 2 years, it's going to turn you into something you did not think that you could become. When we are avoiding discomfort, we're also going to be causing people to leave so much potential on the table, and it's going to create so much more regret down the line. Now, I know that some people in this moment might say, Jermaine, you reaching. But I'm just saying, like, I'm bringing up my common concerns when it comes to NIL and the transfer portal. Man, all money ain't good money. That sometimes something more lucrative might show up later down the line just to get you off track. Sometimes there might be people that are literally going to get paid to leave potential on the table. It's like, hey man, this place can't pay you the same, but it's going to develop you more. But if you in pursuit of the money, you'll say, forget the development. Let me go ahead and get the paper. If you got the aspiration to go to that professional level, you want to know what's going to be more valuable for you? Development, not the compensation. Because the development is going to be what prepares you for that next level of competition. That paper ain't going to do that for you. That paper might get you more likes, views, and followers. But see, the real paper going to be when you walk into a league that has more money back in it. It could be a situation where you taking a $250,000 annually when you could have stayed in a place and developed and been able to generate that same $250,000 weekly. It was just going to take a little longer. All right, what are we teaching our athletes? Like, what are we teaching them? Because it sounds too synonymous with, if you don't like it here, you can leave. Not only from a life perspective, from a theological perspective, y'all know I can't get behind that. Imagine if Jesus said, I don't like it here, so I'm going to leave. I'm bleeding up here and I'm hurting up here, so I'm going to leave. It's some salvation we wouldn't have if that was Jesus' mentality. Imagine the books that don't get written if Paul adopts the mentality. We don't get Romans chapter 8, verse 28, which has helped a lot of us through some hardship. If he said, I don't like it here, so I'm going to leave. No, he said, man, in the midst of hardship for God, for we know that God worketh together all things for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. Imagine the things that don't happen if people do not stay in places where they are developing them because they don't like the discomfort. So I'm serious about it. As the player development student athlete advocate, I literally have to be able to be the one that's player development. My priority is development. Right, sidebar. I ain't gonna lie, this is kind of the dark side of recruiting, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. This is a sidebar. But you know, some coaches recruit athletes simply not because they want to play them, but because they don't want to play against them. Like there are some coaches that literally will pick up the kid with no intentions of actually providing them with an opportunity to compete. Now, if they beat somebody out, that's fine. But in some cases, they just picking these people up just because they don't want to play against them. It's like, nah, I just know that if I don't get you, I'm going to have to go against you. So I would much rather increase my probability of winning by taking some talent off the table by putting you on my team. I even have a different perspective about the benefits of prioritizing development, even in the midst of discomfort, even when better opportunities might arise. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna use my father as an example. My father is a man that has done good work and he's put himself in a pretty prolific position. I ain't even gonna lie. I ain't gonna tell all the bad business, but I'm gonna just say that there is some benefits to actually being left in the dirt, even when someone that can pull you out is literally present in your life. Because when I would first graduate college and I found myself struggling with transitioning into adulthood. Now my father provided me with a place to stay. But I'm like, hey man, I'm broke. Thank you for the place to stay and the food, but can I get some breadski? Like, can you deliver me from the clutches of poverty? My bank account says all of negative $4.38, not including the overdraft fees that's finna have to get taken out. Help me, I can't even pay for my own haircut. The man got the means, but he decided not to do that. And for a second I was confused because in high school and college, it was no problem. He'll randomly, I'm gonna just send you this because I love you, son. In adulthood, he stopped. And I'm sitting over like, man, did you stop seeing the fact that I'm struggling or something? Him delivering me from discomfort would have done me a disservice. Like my father's priority for me as I got older was to actually develop me into a man. And sometimes the best thing to develop a man into a man is to let him stay in that dirt. Let him stay in that storm. So that what comes out of the dirt in the storm actually turns into that which he is supposed to be. So I used to be mad. I'm like, man, he sees that I'm struggling. He see I ain't got it. Yet he still is not he's not helping me the way I want him to help me. But I had to realize, him helping me would have became the disservice to me because my mama different. My mama, if she sees that I'm uncomfortable, if she sees that I'm in pain, pull him out of that pain. I want to get him out. That's my baby. I got to go get him. My father, no. He needs to become a man. I'm going to make sure he's fed and he's housed. When it comes to provisions, he going to have to go get it. Now I can set him up with opportunities, but he gonna have to go on those interviews. And I gotta let him sit in discomfort long enough for him to get sick of it. I believe this was my father's perspective. It's like, I can't pull him out of being broke. I gotta let him sit in the midst of not having no money long enough for him to get sick of it. Because if he gets sick of it, I ain't gonna have to tell him nothing. If he gets sick of it, it ain't a whole lot that I'm gonna have to say. He gonna do it himself. And if I pull him out, he not staying in it long enough to get sick and tired. There's a reason why sometimes in the midst of discomfort and difficulty, the best thing for you is not to be delivered out of it. Because you need to get sick of it. See, because the version of you that God is calling you, who you are supposed to become, is not content with that mediocrity. The version of you that you're supposed to become is not content with losing at that level. But you can't get delivered from that level of difficulty. You got to get sick of it and get so sick. Don't go to that transfer portal. Get sick of it and stay in it. Even if it's more NIL opportunity, even if it's going to be more lucrative, all money ain't good money. You got to get sick of that. A sign that you've grown is the fact that you got sick of something. I wasn't even trying to do all of that, but I guess that's apparently what somebody was supposed to hit with this video. Let me go ahead and move along. Let me move. Okay, so my second concern is the change in team and coaching dynamics. I ain't even gonna fake it. My second concern, change in team and coaching dynamics. Why do I say this though? Obviously, first and foremost, when it comes to NIL and the transfer portal, this means that there are more athletes that can get more opportunity, right? Because opportunity is not based on just being on the team. Opportunity is based on, once more, can you attract eyes that becomes foot traffic that generates revenue? That's what's getting you paid. Everybody don't attract the same eyes, so everybody ain't gonna get the same money. I wonder what locker rooms look like, what team meetings look like when it's people in different tax brackets, but you gotta find a way to gain some chemistry. See, adults, it's different. These young adults, I'm sorry. Personally, you can't give me no $250,000 at the age of 19 and 20. And you can still be able to tell me something. I'm sorry, and this is probably why God ain't let me have that level of opportunity in that age and stage of life. Because I'd have became Kanye back in them 2000s. Is you saying something? You can't tell me nothing. Ain't no kid that's making less than me finna keep me accountable, even if what they telling me is correct. Now I can't grow because I can't take feedback. That's different. Coach, we in the same tax bracket. Who you talking to? I might not be a grown man, but I make grown man money. Lower your tone. So now I'm less coachable. Now I'm saying that this could be the case. Now from what I'm saying, there have been some high earning NIL athletes that remain coachable, that remain humble. And I really do think that is because of parental intervention. They're like, look, you making money, but you ain't finna be having all that. We gonna get you an advisor. We gonna systematize this thing. You know what I'm saying? Now when you a coach, are you really prioritizing the development of athletes that you know might leave next year? And you are a coach, but really just a product manager. It's like, hey man, I'm just managing the product. I don't really care about y'all. Some of y'all I can't be attached to none of y'all. Y'all might leave. Also, this is the other thing. It also puts a lot of teams in a win now mentality, right? Whenever you're in a win now mentality where your priority is not development, it becomes recruitment. And so now we're not focused on developing athletes. We're only focused on recruiting top talent. What does that do for our high schoolers? Because now high schoolers are experiencing limited opportunity where they might become a prolific athlete. You got to give them 2 years. But coaches ain't got 2 years when it's talent that's available now. You're not finna wait to try to win a championship in 2 years. With the way some of these schools be looking, coaches ain't got 2 years to figure that out. You got a year to show some signs of potential success. So what you gonna do? For the sake of job security, are you gonna risk getting the high school athletes? Or are you gonna say, you got potential, but I can't invest significantly in potential. I gotta get talent that's already proven out of this portal. So I believe that it might end up giving the high schoolers the short end of the stick because the priority of coaches becomes less about development and more about recruitment. Some of the best programs, I'm not saying that they can't coach. I'm not saying that they can't develop. What I am suggesting is a lot of what we're seeing in successful programs is successful recruitment. See, there's a lot of people think, oh, they're good at development athletes. No, they're good at getting good athletes. A lot of coaches, it ain't that they develop athletes. Now, some do. But it's more so, no, they're good at getting the athletes that really don't need development. All you got to do is give them some instruction and let them cook. Here's another one right here, that monopolizing talent. I believe that we're going to start to see the same schools that can afford the top talent, but it also is really going, I think, man, it can cause NCAA athletics to get boring, dog. I ain't gonna lie, y'all remember when the Alabama went on that 4-year run where they literally went to 4 consecutive national championships, and the only reason we was watching it at that point was because we just wanted to see Alabama potentially lose. That's what was attracting us to the national championship game. But most of us was tired of seeing it. We tired of seeing y'all, fam. But what happens when you're seeing programs that can afford the top talent? So obviously they're going back to back in championships, and NCAA athletics becomes the same product. Same teams, different names on the back of jerseys, same teams, same schemes, same product. The second this product becomes predictable, is viewership potentially going to go down? Possibly. I think in the college playoff this year, now obviously in basketball, that's different. I ain't gonna lie. Like, one of the most exciting parts about NCAA athletics is upsets and Cinderella stories. But if you're not seeing a spread of talent, because only the top schools can afford the top talent, we're not going to see these Cinderella stories and upsets as much. But part of that is what makes athletics so fun to look at. It's to be able to see a performance and say, I wasn't expecting that. And I don't want to see the NCAA landscape lose what's so unique about it in that respect. Even about your lower schools that are trying to develop better programs, but now they can't get talent because they can't afford them. And even when they get talent, the second their talent gets visibility, they lose the talent because they can't afford to keep them. And now I know a part of that's life. I see that in the job market all the time. It's certain companies, if you're a mid-sized or small-sized company, you get you some talent, you got to be very strategic in trying to retain your talent. Because you know good and well, you got about 2 years before that LinkedIn start booming. And all of a sudden you start getting some resignation letters. So it's life. And maybe we're starting to see the business of professional athletics and the business of corporate bleed into the NCAA. And in all honesty, it's changing the NCAA landscape. And I believe it's once more causing the death of the student athlete. Dog, student athletes used to worry about, is this program going to develop me? Am I going to get my degree? Can I potentially go pro? Now it is becoming a game of who's going to give me the most bread. And this leads me to my last and final thing, right? It's a lack, my most common concern is a lack of student priority. I want you to be able to understand that it is so important to be both student and athlete. As a matter of fact, administrators and educators have gone on record to now actually express and voice concerns that obviously, first off, your schedule as a student athlete already strained, right? It's already strained. You already don't have a lot of time for nothing. So you got a kid that's an athlete, that's got class, that has a social life, but now they got NIL commitments, right? They might have to post a certain amount of content. They might have to go to certain places and spaces, right? Because of NIL contractual agreements. So now you're seeing less and less of becoming a well-rounded human being be the priority, right? You have more people that are building brands instead of a state of being, and we're confusing the two, right? Here's why I really say that one of the main functions of college is to become a fully well-rounded human being. Here's why this is actually important. I'm not even going to fake it to you. Right, I'm going to talk to y'all about identity real quick. And I'm going to use myself as an example. Not to put myself on the level of some of these prolific and highly compensated athletes, but I'm going to use myself as an example from a principal perspective, right? This is something that I would witness at the level of identity. When all you are is an athlete, that's a limited view of yourself that limits your perspective of everything else. And so now, because you're limited in your identity, you might not lack resources, but you become less resourceful. Okay, now here's what I'm talking about. when your focus becomes on the NIL and the compensation and the performance and the numbers and the metrics, and not becoming the whole human being, but instead focusing on the brand. That's not bad, but if it becomes too much of a priority over your personal development, it can become problematic. Because one more time, if you have a limited identity, you have a limited perspective of everything else and what it can be. And this literally means that you can be in places where you don't lack resources, but you will lack resourcefulness. I'll use myself as an example. In my life, I ain't gonna lie, this is something that I'll be kicking myself over right now. Kicking myself. We used to go to this place when I was at the University of Houston. It was called the Yokobitis House. This place was a whole estate in Austin, Texas. I'm talking about this place was crazy, right? And at the Yokobitis House, we would actually, the inhabitant of this house was one of the early investors of the internet. One of the earliest investors in the internet. I'm talking about, he was an investor in the 90s, right? He made his money and he knew the technology, right? Very prolific human being, a full well of wisdom. And we had open access to this man. Could have a conversation with him in his estate, because we used to go over there whenever we go to Texas Relays. And when we had nationals at UT in Austin, we was at his house, talking to him, petting his dog, talking to his family. But because all I was an athlete, I'm literally in the presence of a billionaire that probably got other connections to other billionaires. And I never thought to myself to get to know him, build a meaningful connection, and actually say, hey, this is who I am outside of athletics. This is what I want to do when I'm no longer an athlete. Do you know anybody? I never even thought to ask that question. Instead, all I did was enjoy the food, walk around the estate, go home, go compete. Because my priority at that time was, I'm worried about competition, not connecting with people. Look, man, unless this man is a coach or a scout for a brand, I don't have any common care for who this person is. My limited identity literally gave me less vision. I couldn't see the fact that you in the crib of a billionaire. And there's a conversation you could have and a connection you can make that could literally change your life. There was another moment where I literally would have conversations with people. We had this thing called a donor dinner, right? My scholarship by my senior year was literally paid for by donors. Literally paid for my school and gave me a stipend. I was sitting pretty at the University of Houston. And a part of the agreement with the donor dinners is you got to go sit with the donors. So once again, I'm sitting with millionaires and billionaires that's paying for my scholarship. I'm literally talking to them in the facility that they own. Multi-billion-dollar built facility. New facility that they own. Name is on the building. And I'm having a conversation, not trying to build a connection simply because I don't have the vision of who these people can be for me and who I can be for them. Because I'm engaging in a conversation with people in power and all I am is an athlete. And so my common concern for athletes, when all you are is an athlete, when your only focus is the NIL and the transfer portal and getting to the paper now, is when all you are is focused on the brand instead of your state of being. If you can't get outside the box of athlete and see yourself as more, you literally will be walking around resources and not be able to see it, all because of what you can't see yourself as. And I just believe that with more things that come with being an athlete, it literally will shift your focus to only that. And so that's one of my common concerns that can conceptually create what I consider the death of the student athlete. And what we're going to be able to see more of, which is semi-pro athletes. Now, is it bad? No. Like I said, get paid, young man, get paid. Get paid, young lady, get paid. My problem is if we start to lack priority, is that NIL and the transfer portal can heavily be a cause of our athletes, our student athletes, in an ever-changing NCAA landscape that is easy to mismanage without the proper guidance. It can easily become a space where resources are mismanaged, opportunities are not maximized, simply because it's a new landscape and we're starting to see, which I don't know is good or bad, a change. We're seeing less student athletes and more semi-pro athletes. I think it's bad? No, because sometimes I think I have a traditional view of what's familiar for me in the college landscape. And so sometimes I see change as bad. Maybe it's not bad. Maybe kids being able to set up with having experience in contract negotiation, building a brand, knowing how to market themselves, knowing how to actually articulate their value. I think those are very priceless and tangible life skills that can create so much lucrative opportunity. Problem is, one more time, if all you are is the athlete and not the student, you're not going to get the most out of this 4-year, 5-year, or 6-year time that you have as a collegian. Matter of fact, that's my last thing I'll say, because even when I couldn't see myself as more, man, we got a career success center. We got so many resources. As a matter of fact, there was literally a woman I used to have a conversation with on a weekly basis by the name of Miss Asha. She literally is a prolific career coach even to this day. Now works up in Austin. There's conversations with her I would probably have to pay for now that I used to get for free. But I wasn't maximizing the time because all I could see myself was as an athlete. So my biggest thing is be both. Be both student and athlete. Be both a human being and a brand so that you can maximize the opportunity of the space that you're in. That's my main message. And I don't want the transfer portal and the NIL to cause our athletes to not maximize the space that they're in to become the developed individuals that are good athletes, high performers, but also good husbands and wives, good leaders in community, good people outside of just their performance. Because I really do believe that the earth so desperately needs not just your physical talent and your physical gift on the field, on the court, in the pool, on the track, but I believe the earth so desperately needs you to become the individual that you are called to be. And that's the best benefit that we can actually offer to the earth. Now, it took me no longer being an athlete to realize that. My hope is that you find this out while you still got time as an athlete. Nonetheless, though, that's my tidbit. Y'all already know what I'm going to say. If you have any further questions, comments, or concerns, need any form of support, conversation, anything of that nature, y'all already know my DMs are open. Feel free to DM me, give me feedback, what you like, what you dislike, right? What you heard, what stuck with you, what didn't. Let me know. Let's have a conversation. I'm all for open dialogue so I can actually be of service to you continually and consistently. Outside of that, it's your boy J-Lou, 3 to the 1 and to the 4. And I'm Audi 5 to the 30. So,